All right. Yeah, the next part of this Icke interview. Let's go.
From Mengele, and I started realizing that there was something going on, and then it scared me, and I didn't really look into it for years, but I was being harassed constantly. I was being told at one point. I had someone telling me that I was being, and who was ex-Army intelligence, ex-CIA, telling me that I was being monitored by the National Security Agency. And I didn't have the whole story then, so I did not totally understand why this was happening. But yet I was being followed by cars or vans that said G12, G14, and in this last year, which has really been very hard, I've been followed by G41 vans, and I had to find out what those were, and that is naval intelligence. But this whole thing is going towards around the year 2000, and when they are going to establish themselves openly as a new world order. And it's headed toward that. And that's what everything is being prepared to, or prepared for. And I have actually I've got a sleeping program right now to return, because I've left, but to return for that time. And it's called End Times Programming, or Janus Programming.
And Janus relates back to Nimrod of Babylon.
Yeah, there is a group that used to be in contact with me all the time, and they stopped trying simply because I didn't obey them. They would be in contact with me all the time. They're called Janus, which is also the two-headed Roman god of change, and their headquarters is in Brussels, Belgium, in the NATO building. And they are a group
It's funny that
of
you use.
psychiatrists and doctors who are into mind control. And they are one of the many groups involved with the Illuminati. And they would contact me and tell me, give me directions that I was to psychically kill this person, or psychically injure this person, or scare this person. They'd give me the location. And I started questioning this, and I had a contact who since has seemed to have disappeared because she couldn't get the funding. And I had called her about this group, and she's the one that was the ex-CIA, ex-Army intelligence person, and she knew about these people, and she said, yes, you're right, this is what is going on.
From your experience, being brought up in this Illuminati environment, were you ever told anything about where these reptilians came from, and what is the history of it all?
I was made to learn through Mothers of Darkness, which is a certain aspect of the organization, because that was an early part of my training, the history of what was the Illuminati on this planet. And what I learned was that the Aryans originally were from Mars, and the reptilians came to that planet they came from another place. They came to that planet. They came to rule, because they wanted to mix, so they said, with that race. And but they became the overlords. And the Martians, or Aryans, were seeking to escape from it. They went to the moon, and then were there attacked, and they then went to Earth and established culture here on Earth approximately 6,000 years ago. And at that point in time, they were doing well, and they were mixing with the indigenous population of this earth. They were getting along with. And then about 4,000 years ago, the Aryan, or the reptilians, arrived here and again began to take over. And they instilled themselves in different places underground in the earth, and also this one part of them, the ruling part, took over and became involved in the politics and in the religion, and started controlling through these means at that point in time, and using the gods and deities that were believed in on this planet, started infiltrating into that and becoming that. And things started, blood rituals started happening. And since that time, that is the way that it has been. And presently, they claim to come from the Merovingian bloodline. They are all of the, there are 13 bloodlines in Europe that all of what are called royalty are developed from or come from. And they include the Aryans in this, and there's been a big push in this century. For example, when Nazis came into power, the fascists, talking about the purity of being pure and staying, the Aryan bloodline staying pure, and what it actually is all about is keeping the blue-eyed, blonde or light red-haired people, the bloodlines pure, because it is more powerful. And what is in that blood for these reptilians is more powerful, and they need that. And when you start mixing it with people that were indigenous to this earth, then it is not as powerful. It has nothing to do with someone, skin color or nationality. It has to do with keeping the bloodline pure for their use.
So, blonde-haired...
It's crazy because in it, I'm not sure if it's 12 or 13, but she said there's 13 bloodlines, but in there in the Bible, 13 tribes of Israel. It might be 12, but I think it's 13. But also the Bible says 6,000 years the earth was created. So there is like and also what she's describing really is the Book of Enoch. Before the book of, like, the Book of Enoch isn't included, and I've seen biblical scholars, there is a reason why the Book of Enoch um isn't included in the Bible, and it's because it can't actually be verified that Enoch wrote it. Only the first book, I think there's 3 books of Enoch, and only the first one can only a little bit kind of maybe it was written by Enoch, but the rest of them is Jewish fan fiction. Basically, is what biblical scholars eat like. The Jews didn't count it, the Book of Enoch, and Christian years and years later, Christians don't accept the Book of Enoch. But it's basically, even in the Bible, it does say that the angels come to earth and fell in love with the women, um, the daughters of man, and had children unto them, and then that's the Nephilim. And then the Book of Enoch is taking that little bit, because that's basically all the actual Bible says about that. Is that, yeah, in the Book of Genesis it says that the angels impregnated the daughters of man. and gave birth to giants and men of renown. But that's it. The Book of Enoch is, I've seen biblical scholars, and the reason why it's not is basically because it's Jewish scholars taking that idea and trying to expand it as best they could of what that little bit in the Bible means. But it's interesting that it's very biblical what she's saying. And also when she said, like, you hit that kind of, this is why I think ghosts, all demons, it's all the same thing. Whatever it is, I don't know whether they're lizards or what, but it's definitely something, because there's too many varied peoples having experiences with them. But you do hear that whether it's people that believe in ghosts and spirits or angels or UFOs or anything, they do say that these things come to you in a form you will accept. Like if you grew up in a Christian, where Christian is your fundamental belief, you might see Christ, you might see one of the angels, they will come to you as, but it isn't the thing, which is what she kind of said as well, that they came here and kind of infiltrated the belief systems that was already here. Let's carry on.
Blue-eyed people are the purest from the reptilians' point of view, and that they want to keep that bloodline pure because of how they need to use it.
Yes. When I realized that it had to do with blonde hair and blue eyes, I could not do anything about my eyes, and I am not able to wear contacts or I would have brown eyes. But one thing I did do was cut my hair off, because that was part of the rank I was. My hair was down to my knees, and I colored my hair darker. And there were times when after I did cut it off, they had gotten to me, and so the hair would be light red. But that is being in compliance with them. And I did not want to be in compliance to them. I want to expose them, and this is part of it, and I won't be what they want me to be.
When you look at some of the ancient accounts, like the Sumerian texts and many other accounts, they talk about the gods interbreeding with humanity. Is this relevant to the reptilian way of infiltrating the human race?
Yes, it is, because human beings all through the ages have accepted gods interbreeding or being accepted as humans, and that shows in Christianity, it shows in Judaism. It also, they have used Egyptology, or the Egyptian religions, a lot, and the present head of the Illuminati compares himself a lot with the Egyptian god Osiris and Horus, which is Osiris reborn, and also with the Arthurian legends of the Round Table, and he has a name. The name that he carries from that is Pindar, which actually means phallus of the dragon. And the other name, Osiris, he has carried because he takes the name at this time, the Marquis de Libero, which means the liberator of or from the waters. And the story of Osiris is that he was cut into 14 pieces and thrown into the River Nile, and the one piece, Isis found the pieces and put them back together again, and she could not find the 15th piece, which happened to be the phallus, so a gold phallus was made. And this is very important in whatever this group in the Illuminati, this is important, and it's important to think that about the head of the Illuminati, because what comes from a golden phallus would be a superior seed for a race, and this is how this is what they are doing with all of these bloodlines to keep the bloodlines going, are impregnating Aryan people of Aryan blood that hold high stations with them, impregnating them with this seed of Pendar. And therefore it's important to keep this history in mind and the names in mind that he is going by at this time.
So would it be correct to say that the reptilians came to this planet because the Aryan Martians came to this planet, and had the Aryan Martians gone somewhere else, they'd have followed them there?
They would have pursued them all over the universe, yes.
Can we now go into some specifics about your own experiences? What were you brought up to do? You say that you were identified as a bloodline before you were born. What was the role that you were brought through to play?
The role that I was brought through to play was, as in the Illuminati, was as a goddess. Specifically, the address is Mother Goddess, Starfire. And the Starfire goes back to the blood in the menstrual blood, what is contained in that. And the address, the way that I was addressed, was Mother Goddess. There are only 3 Mother Goddesses. There can only be 3 at a time on this planet, and there is a male equivalent of which there can be only 3 of them.
Why mind control someone to conduct these rituals, like yourself? Why don't these reptilians just conduct their own rituals?
They don't seem to have the psychic abilities, and they look for people that have that, and people in the bloodline that have that. And I have had that. I've had a tremendous amount of psychic ability, and so I was picked and bred from before birth, and this is also something that other survivors that have been in high positions have known about me and told me.
What's the connection then between you having psychic abilities, those being recognized from the start, and you being brought through to conduct their major rituals?
Well, it's kind of twofold. First of all, they needed the psychic abilities because they control or attempt to control events, because I would have the ability to foretell what was going to happen, and they needed the information to just try to control it to an outcome that was good for them. The second thing is that during the rituals, you had to have psychic ability. You have to be very powerful in that way to call out the old ones that are also reptilian, that come from another dimension. They actually they materialize from out of another dimension and are present at rituals, and they are so powerful, and their presence is there's such an evilness about them, and they want out of this other dimension, and they can't. They have to be called out by someone who has that power, and the reptilians don't have this power. That's very important, that they don't have this power to call out these old ones that have to do with them. And
what is it that humans have that the reptilians don't have, that means they don't have the power to connect interdimensionally, and some humans do?
We have the ability to foresee, to be able to become vibrationally higher, and see into those levels, go into those levels, and in fact, agencies use this. They call it remote viewing. To go, that people, these humans have the ability to go into the past, to go into the future, to go to other places, to astrally leave their body, astrally, and to see things that we've always had this ability, and it's like having the third eye, which they don't have. They don't have this ability. So these, during ritual, these old ones are called out, and they are what Christianity would have called the demons. They are called out.
I was just thinking that everything she's saying sounds satanic. Because even in that, I don't even think angels have the ability to create, or demons. It's a God has that ability, and it's something between God and man that I don't think angels have the ability to create. And demons definitely don't, and they don't have the ability to um see things that haven't happened yet. And it's why people say Ouija boards. Even if you believe that you are contacting something, whatever they're predicting to you, it can't be real unless they're contacting God, because he's the only one that is what's it called, an omnipotent, can see the past and the future. But she said something before as well. Everything she said, it just sounds like demons. And I'm sure that again, depending on what your world belief is, one thing that is crazy in every group of people, no matter how remote, they they understand that there's a evil and there's a good, and it's almost like there's a spiritual battle. It's weird that humans have that, no matter where they are, no matter, like I say, how remote. You go to a tribe, they have gods and demons, um and every culture always has. But that's what she, hearing her talk about it, it does sound, and to be honest, if you think about how the devil is represented most times in the Bible, it's in a reptilian form. Um, Snakes and yeah.
There is a circle that is, it has a hexagon in there, which is a powerful occultic symbol, and then there is a pentagram, and then there, in the middle of that, there is a triangle. And if you're the one calling them out, then you stand in the triangle, so that you're not devoured or taken by these creatures that come out.
That creates an energy field around you which they can't penetrate.
They can't penetrate it, and they cannot get outside the pentagram. And they want out. They're always demanding to be let out. And so you have to be very powerful to keep them in line and to make them go back when it is time for them to go back.
Why do the reptilians want to manifest these quote demons at the rituals?
It brings power to the rituals. It brings power to them. They are told things by these entities, and they are encouraged to go on with what they're doing, and knowledge is imparted to them through these entities. But it takes a person with the ability to bring them out and make them answer, because they don't want to cooperate. They have to cooperate when the right person has control over them.
And that's to do with that person's energy and ability to use
right.
energy.
Yes.
You talked about the Aryan race coming from Mars. One expression of it seems to be very clearly what we call the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians had two deities, St. George, which became a British deity, who defeated the dragon, which seems incredibly symbolic, and also St. Michael, who, according to the legend, banished Satan, or this negative force, into the abyss. Is this symbolism of the abyss anything to do with the fact that these reptilian demons of another dimension are somehow locked in a time-space prison, and they can't get out, and they can only get out when they're brought out in that way?
Yes, they want out of that dimension. They have been thrown into that dimension, and they can't leave that dimension. And that's actually what the abyss is about, is being in a different dimension. It's like something to do with the fourth dimension. And before I even knew
Actually, that's what I was thinking, because she was talking about, I've got the Betty and Barney Hill, because kind of what she's talking about is a bit, what do they call it, hypnotherapy, or hypno regression, where you regress people back into their childhood. I don't know if anyone's ever, her saying the fourth dimension reminds me of that. Also, the Astro, I've got a video I want to do on Moloch. It's the god that the elite. This is what, so I'm going all over the place here, but what she's talking about, whether you agree with her worldview or whatever, the fact is that our elite are doing crazy rituals to things. But you see in movies how things she's saying comes out. The astro projection, is it Insidious? That's in with the astro projection. But all the films kind of, it's always Moloch, the god. Always seems to come up in movies, and it's the god that the elites pray. And that's what I mean. Our elites definitely do. But also the fourth kind. Watch that. I think it's called The Fourth Kind. She reminded me saying the fourth dimension, but it's that. It's a real story of alien abductions. But it's a great film, and that's what she does. She's a therapist and then does regressive hypnotherapy, because all of our patients keep saying the same thing. Like, she has like 20 patients all describing the same things happening to them at night. So she gets them all together, and yeah, The Fourth Kind is called. It's a great film. But that's what she kind of reminds me of a bit of, because she did say that through therapy and that things can be opened up. But yeah, the whole reptilian, like I say, it does come up in other avenues of our not even conspiracy world. Like I said, fight or flight is reptilian. We have a kind of reptilian programming, and the reptiles, like David Icke said, the St. George killing the dragon. I know the dragon's a bit, but it's still reptile-y, and would represent a demon, basically, in any religious context. So you do see that with our kind of ingrained into us is this certain type of imagery. Like I say, you got to get into Carl Jung and all, because Carl Jung describes all of this, how we have a personal unconscious and then a collective unconscious, and it's certain things that always crop up, and reptiles do always seem to crop up as being significant in our type of yeah, it's just deep. But yeah, that's this part. Sweet.